My name is Perry and welcome to the Literary Literary. So today I'm here to film my May TBR. I usually don't make TBRs because I have yet to successfully stick to one, but I'm trying to view this TBR as sort of a complement to the mood reading that I'm already doing instead of a replacement for it. I think there's a lot to be said for mood reading in terms of just sheer enjoyment, but enjoyment/entertainment is not the only reason that I like to read. And in conjunction with a couple of other factors, pure mood reading means that I neglect certain areas of literature that I really do enjoy spending time with. But without further ado, let's get into the books that I'm hoping to read in May. So my first May selection is going to be The Odd Women by George Gissing, because I'm going to be participating in the Odd Readalong, hosted by Katie over at Books and Things and Marissa from Blatantly Bookish. What this read-along is going to be is we're going to read 2 chapters of the book every day for the first 16 days in May. I will leave all of the links for that in the description if you are interested in checking it out. But basically, The Odd Women is a Victorian novel responding to the essentially surplus, demographically speaking, of women at that time. So there were more women than there were men to marry them. So in this particular case, Gissing is responding to those odd or unpaired women in the book. Katie said it's really feminist and she had a bunch of good things to say about it, so I'm pretty excited. And since The Odd Woman is in the public domain, I'm planning to just read the Project Gutenberg ebook online for free. So super accessible if you'd be interested in joining in. The other sort of classic that I'm hoping to get to is this one, which is called Staging Women 3 Plays by Aristophanes, translated and edited by Jeffrey Henderson. This was a book that I actually bought for a class I took in college, which was called Women and Men in the Ancient Mediterranean. But at no point for that class was I asked to read this from cover to cover, and so I never did. But it's still on my shelves, and I'm behind on my play reading goal. I definitely haven't devoted as much time or thought to Greek comedy as I have to Greek tragedy, so this will be an exciting avenue. And I'm also excited that the selection and the editorial commentary is centered around gender, because that's one of my primary interests when I look at ancient sources. Yeah, so excited to finally sort of complete this. So next I want to talk about the books that I'm planning to get for my library this month. So first I wanted to talk about An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa, which is a historical romance book set during the Civil War and follows 2 spies who are sort of going undercover to try to infiltrate and take down a Confederate plot. It sounds really interesting. I really like spy type things, and I especially like historical intrigue. So I'm hoping, I have really high hopes for that. The next book I have on hold and it should be delivered soon, and that is Undercover Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams. I read the Bromance book club in April and I really liked it. So Undercover Bromance follows Liv, the sister of the heroine from the Bromance book club, and then one of the Bromance book club bros from the first book, Braden. And I've also heard that it explores a lot of issues of like sexual harassment and consent. And the book club pick is a romantic suspense novel. So yeah, I'm hoping to get to that soon. Next up would probably be Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid, which is a story that's been getting a lot of hype. It's a book about a white woman and her African-American babysitter, and what basically the aftermath of an incident where the babysitter is seen in public with the white child she's babysitting, and someone decides that she's obviously kidnapped this child, and it becomes a very public incident that gets all over the internet. So the book is sort of about the ramifications of that, and it's a lot about gender and race and privilege and relationships between women, and everybody seems to be saying great things about it, so I'll be excited to find out what the book is like. And that should be coming in from the library in about 3 weeks. Also coming in from the library in about 3 weeks will be Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Now, the reason I wanted to read this one was that in April I read The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. I did not expect to be talking about that book in this video. The Grace Year. And in a lot of ways it seems to me like these 2 books are sort of counterparts of each other. They're sort of both takes on the like, what would a bunch of young girls do if they were isolated alone together for a period of time. They're both sort of dark in tone, but The Grace Year is sort of a fantasy take on that idea, and Wilder Girls is sort of a science fiction take on that idea. And I've read a lot of people in sort of the Goodreads reviews really liking one and really not liking the other, which I think is sort of an interesting relationship for 2 books to have when their concepts are so similar. Going back and looking at the blurb on Goodreads for this book, I'm not sure if I actually am going to manage to read it this month, because in my brain I had sort of de-emphasized the aspect of the book where they're on the island because they're being quarantined because there is a mysterious and debilitating disease spreading among them, and they've been promised a cure, but no cure is forthcoming. So I'm gonna give it a shot, but if that turns out to be just like a little too thematically resonant for like the world right now, I'm gonna bail on it and come back to it later. The last few books I wanted to talk about are my picks for the Asian Readathon hosted by Reads with Cindy, links in the description. Number 1, The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. This is sort of a memory and information manipulation kind of story where there's a society of people living on an island and things start to go missing, but not just missing like you can't find it, missing like you can't remember that you ever had it, but there are some people who can remember the changes that are being made and who are aware that their memories are being manipulated, and it just sounds so interesting. As soon as I heard about it, I knew I wanted to read it, so that's my first pick. My next pick for the Asian Readathon is going to be The Bone Witch by Chupeco. But basically it's a story of a young girl who accidentally brings her younger brother back from the dead, thus revealing to everyone that she is a bone witch, and that's a kind of magic that that has a lot of negative connotations with it, so she needs to go away and train her bone witchy powers so that she learns to control them, and etc. And I'm sure some sort of hero's journey embarks from there, because that's that setup. But I've heard really good things about it, and the trilogy is now complete. And my last pick for the Asian Readathon is one I'm again really excited about. I've really wanted to read for a long time, and that is Read Jane by Patricia Park. So this is a Jane Eyre retelling set in present-day New York and following a Korean-American woman. And it's sort of, I mean, as Jane Eyre is, it's sort of a coming-of-age story. I'm not sure how the romance is going to play into it, if it does at all, because basically this woman, Jane, isn't really sure what to do with her life. I think she graduated from college already, but she's back working at her uncle's grocery store for a while until she gets a job as a nanny for this sort of upper class intellectual Brooklyn couple. And I think the story is just very much going to be about her reconciling different parts of her identity and figuring out who she is and how to act in accordance with that, which is at its core also what Jane Eyre is about. I love retelling, so I'm really excited. And finally, I have one more book on my official TBR list, but I am not going to tell you what it is because it is a secret for a secret project that I will be starting in just a few days. I'm a little nervous about it, but hopefully it's going to be a good time, or it won't. And I will report back. All right, that should do it. That is my May TBR list. I do expect to read more books than that in the month, but again, I wanted to leave myself some freedom to just sort of pick up whatever I was in the mood for and could get from my library on a given day. As I continue to select books, I'm going to keep in mind the idea of selecting authors of Asian descent or heritage, just to keep with the Asian Readathon theme. But other than that, I guess that is it for today. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited to read in May, and maybe if you have a favorite retelling of a piece of classic literature, I would also love to know about that. But that is it for today. I hope that you are staying happy, healthy, and safe, and I hope that somewhere there is a great book waiting just for you. Bye!